does Brad Stevens keep doing this? I have asked this question after every single time he has re-signed a player, he's extended somebody. How is he able to afford this roster, not just for the upcoming season, but through 2029, 2030, and still compete at a high level? This is a GM's dream, or at least I would assume so. I'm not a GM. We're going to break down how Brad Stevens is able to do this, the penalties that the Boston Celtics may face if he does continue to do this, and why Brad Stevens is extending and paying big bucks to keep this roster around. Welcome into Celtics Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Allie Barefoot, and for anything and everything related to your Boston Celtics, you're going to find it right here for free. That's why we highly suggest going on ahead and hitting that sub button for me. We're never going to ask you for subscription money. We just want to have a fan talking to fans about our favorite team, the Boston Celtics. So go on ahead and subscribe. Because what the Celtics are doing right now, it feels extremely rare. It feels like this has never been done before in NBA history, where a team is able to literally run it back the exact same way they did year prior that won them the highest achievable award in the NBA, which is the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Now, there have been attempts at doing this, but most players will end up leaving in free agency. They'll sign elsewhere, but mainly the main big players do stick around with their team after they've won the NBA championship. But it's not just the main players here for the Celtics. And when you look at the past NBA championships over the last 5 years, in 2023, the Denver Nuggets, they returned 10 out of the 14 players that helped them get the NBA championship and hoist the trophy. 2022 Warriors did the exact same thing. 10 players returned to the 2023 Warriors roster. In the Bucks year, they had 17 players in and out that helped them win this championship due to some injuries, but only 9 players returned to the 17 that helped them get that trophy. And in the Lakers, only 9 returned out of 15 players. The Raptors, only 9 players returned out of 14 players that helped them win the NBA Finals. But now when you look at the Boston Celtics, when you've got your main 5 returning, you've got your top 6, your top 7, but it goes beyond that. Brad Stevens made sure that 13 out of 15 players that helped them hoist the Larry O'Brien Trophy are coming back next year, pending O'Shea Brissett, which Brad Stevens has mentioned he would love to have O'Shea Brissett back, but Brizzy's looking for some more minutes outside the NBA. And Svi Mykhailiuk, I've seen no reports about trying to get Svi back, but never say never. Is Brad Stevens the league MVP? I know he won Executive of the Year, but is he league MVP? Because this is unreal what he's doing with the Boston Celtics franchise money. Not only are the players returning to run it back, but Brad Stevens extended them for multiple years, making sure he's locking down the champions in Boston, not through 2025-26, but through 2029-2030. So if you have purchased a Jason Tatum or a Jaylen Brown jersey, congratulations. You can wear that into 2030. That is how important these extensions are for Stevens and the franchise. But how are the Celtics affording this? How is this possible? And why isn't every single other franchise out there doing this? That's what I've been asking, if Brad Stevens has been able to make this happen. And I saw this graphic here earlier on Twitter, and when you look at their total payout of over $232 million, it does not make sense. Truly, I don't even know how they even have this much money to extend over 13 players and still have it be legal. It sounds insane. But with a higher salary is going to come a higher luxury tax penalty. You can't just keep doing this and not get penalized. And Brad Stevens knows that, of course. But it's pretty much how much is the front office willing to pay on this bill to have a winning roster. They had a higher luxury tax penalty than the 2025-26 salary. They're going to be paying a very hefty bill in order to obtain all these players through 2030. But Brad is doing it despite the penalties. That's what's making Brad Stevens right now a genius. In 5 years, this all blows up. Maybe we can rethink this conversation. But I don't see it blowing up. Now, when you're asking me and sitting here thinking, Allie, what are those penalties? Because they have to be costly for Brad Stevens to do this and extend this many players and re-sign them. Well, take a look here. This graphic kind of summarizes better than I ever could. Feel free to pause it and read it for yourself. I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but pretty much when you do keep having these penalties, it's going to cost you draft picks. It's going to freeze and unfreeze your draft picks until you are out of that luxury tax apron and you are out of the penalty. But it's going to move around mainly in the first round, which is where the Boston Celtics are really locking in the guys that are working right now with an average age of 27 and a half years old and really not putting a lot of effort into their future, because if they do keep going over these penalties, it's going to cost them draft picks. That is where they're pretty much lying. And Bobby Marks also broke it down a little bit here, saying the draft pick penalty rule looks daunting. But keep in mind, as the salary cap continues to grow, so do the apron levels. Examples, 2024 through 25, second apron was $188.9 million. The projected second apron is $228.5 million. So Brad Stevens is almost ahead of the times here, knowing that tax apron is going to continue to keep growing. His salary is already projected through those years. He knows exactly how much this franchise is going to be paying because he's already extended and he's keeping up with the projection of that tax apron. The man is freaking Goodwill Hunting. He's a genius. He is working out equations that people are leaving up on the board, and it's making all the other GMs jealous because they're not sure how he does it. Give the man some love. Brad Stevens for president. I might write him in, to be honest. Give Brad Stevens some love in the comment section down below. Spam MVP. I know Jaylen Brown won it, but it's Brad Stevens, man. He has crafted the most perfect roster. And I will break it down a little bit more and see what analysts have to say about what Boston Celtics and Brad Stevens are doing in just one moment. But if you guys have not gotten your 2024 NBA championship gear, now is the time. There is a phenomenal deal, 50% off right now on the NBA championship shirt. I have this shirt. Smitty has this shirt. It was gifted to us actually by Chat Sports. Shout out James Yoder. But this shirt now is 50% off. I'll let you know a little deal. It's actually a little bit more than 50% off. You can get this bad boy right now on Fanatics for $17. Go to chatsports.com/2024 banner 18. That's going to get you guys this great deal on this great shirt. I work out in it. I wear it to bars. I wear it here on the show. It's a really comfy t-shirt as well. They've got all the sizes, but get it while it lasts. Use this link, chatsports.com/2024 banner 18. If you don't remember it, I'll comment it under this video down below. Click that link and get this deal. So why does Brad keep spending this offseason knowing those penalties are waiting for him at the front door? There must be a reason as to why he wants to lock down multiple players through 2030. And let me tell you, it's not just winning. Chris Forsberg, who is a reporter for NBC Sports Boston, he spends all of his time around this franchise. Here's what he had to say about why Stevens is doing this. The philosophy for Brad Stevens since he took over as GM is to give everybody the security of these long-term deals. You're not worried about where you're going to play next year or what you're going to make. You're just going to focus on basketball. I think there are 8 guys on the roster now that Brad has extended at some point, including every member of the core. So I feel they're out there giving security, saying, go out there and win a back-to-back title, and we'll figure this out down the road. And it may look crazy right now. They're not worried about it right now. I know it's more prohibited with the new CBA trying to get off deals, and you can't take back more money. You can't aggregate contracts. It'll be tough to get off this money. But the fact of the matter is they can do it if they have to. They can shed salaries. There will be teams that want these players. So that's down the road. Brad Stevens has a roster that is filled with trade targets if he ever actually does get to a point where he has got to get rid of shedding salaries. But as of right now, just like Chris said, they're not worried about it. They just did something they haven't done in 16 years, and that's win an NBA title. In conclusion, Brad's a genius. I would want him as my GM. I would want him as the president of the United States. He's taking care of his players. And in return, they're rewarding him with the Larry O'Brien trophy. That is the best GM to player relationship you can ever have in any sports franchise. And it seems like Brad is in the perfect role for this team. And Brad isn't spending just to spend money. He's not just extending or going out there and re-signing minimum free agents just for shits and giggles. He's making sure the players who have helped this team have a spot on this team for as long as they're producing. Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford. And the beauty is, he's doing it better than other teams who are trying to beat Boston. Porzingis, Hauser, Horford, Pritchard, and Tillman combined cost $158 million. OG Anunoby for the New York Knicks cost $228 million. He has 5 players to 1. And I'll still take these 5 over an OG Anunoby on our basketball team. Brad Stevens is making sure every dollar counts. He's making sure he's spending less than other teams out there, even though they've got the 2 highest paid players in the NBA. They do have the highest salary in this upcoming year, but it seems like he's getting more bang for his buck. Brad is offering very practical deals. I loved the 4 years for $45 million for Sam Hauser. He was eligible for $78 million over 4 years. But he said, you know what? Let's give him $45 million right now. He'll make double digits next year. He'll make $11 million. He's making $2 million this season. So it's a hefty salary, but it's very practical. He's not paying Sam Hauser more than he deserves. And I think that's great for Brad Stevens. So what do you think he does next? Predict Brad Stevens' next move. Bring out your crystal ball. Is it re-sign O'Shea Brissett? Is it sign a minimum veteran free agent to add to the depth chart? What does Brad Stevens do next? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, if you want anything and everything on your Boston Celtics, you're going to find it right here for free. So all you guys have to do is subscribe to Celtics Today by Chat Sports.